In the late 1700s, a former Navy navigator named William Morris set out on a daring voyage crossing the Antarctic ice walls, uncharted territory that no sailor had ever returned from. What he found there wasn't just a new world. It was the key to understanding humanity's forgotten past. William encountered advanced civilizations, uncovered ancient secrets, and learned of powers that have shaped our reality without us ever knowing. But to understand his incredible story, we must start from the beginning. As a Continental Navy man during the Revolutionary War, William had left behind his wife Lucy and the life they dreamed of building together. War, as always, tore through those dreams, replacing them with the pain of separation. One night after Saratoga's surrender, his ship was bound for Charleston under a full moon, the Atlantic stretching in ghostly silence. To calm the anxiety of war, the crew swapped stories over whiskey. Soon, talk drifted to Captain James Cook and his fixation with crossing the Antarctic Circle. The source of Cook's obsession was a mystery, and while William didn't give it much thought at first, he couldn't help but listen when his own Captain Butler spoke up. Butler's voice was calm but resolute. "There may be a passage somewhere in the polar circle," he said, "a gateway to lands beyond." His tone held no hint of jest. The cabin fell silent, every man waiting for the punchline that never came. Butler claimed he had high-level sources confirming that expeditions were being funded to break through the harsh southern climate to reach what lay beyond the ice. He himself had seen a map that marked coordinates for such a passage. The idea felt impossible, yet it left William haunted as he drifted into an uneasy sleep. Years later, with the war over, many Navy ships were dismantled or sold. William, now comfortably situated, decided to purchase one of them, a decision that drew plenty of laughter from his friends. But the memory of Butler's story lingered, sparking an unshakable urge to explore. Lucy was hesitant, but William was determined. By November, he had a crew ready, though most had turned down the offer with understandable reluctance. Only two of his friends from that fateful night were eager to join him. Convincing Butler himself was a different story. For weeks, William wrestled with how to approach him, knowing that Butler's experience and those coordinates were crucial. When he finally asked, Butler showed interest but declined. Then, on October 11th, Butler appeared at William's door, unannounced and holding maps William had never seen. With him was a man named Fint, and they both looked as if they had come from another world. "I'll join you," Butler said, "but understand this could be a one-way trip." William nodded. He realized then that this journey was no longer a distant fantasy. It was a professional mission, one that demanded everything he had. The adventure was about to begin. After setting November 14th as their departure date, William and his crew worked tirelessly, filled with a mix of anticipation and unease. Every detail was meticulously planned, and Butler's mysterious partner, Fint, had joined the team. But as the days crept closer, an ominous tension grew. They spoke of adventures, but no one knew that the journey would surpass any fiction they had imagined. 2 days before departure, William heard a sharp knock at his door. Fint stood there, accompanied by a stranger dressed in black, his expression severe, his voice edged with a strange accent. "This is urgent," he said. William hesitated, then allowed them inside. Fint opened a worn briefcase and pulled out an old manuscript, its pages brittle and lined with foreign script. In a low, solemn tone, he read aloud, "By demand, I subscribe in major importance, here by desire of our lords, that the doors of knowledge be closed to those who refused our path." William felt a chill settle over him. "This sounds like some sort of initiation rite," he muttered half to himself. "Exactly," Fint replied. "Those who do not pass the initiation are outcasts. We are outcasts." Frustrated, William demanded, "What does this mean?" What does it have to do with our trip? Fint's expression darkened. The manuscript belongs to the custodians, the sun gods, as they call themselves. They know about our journey thanks to Butler, and they aren't pleased. This decree states that no one is to leave these lands without their permission. The air in the room grew thick. William, already prepared for the natural dangers of the journey, now found himself confronting an invisible, powerful enemy. "Who are these custodians?" he pressed. Before Fint could answer, the stranger spoke. "They are not happy about your voyage," he said cryptically. "That's all you need to know." Fint urged him to cancel the trip, warning, "It's not worth risking your life." William, angered by their cryptic threats, ordered them to leave immediately. Yet as they left, a deep unease lingered. When William tried to reach Butler to make sense of the strange encounter, he received only silence. As his team gathered to discuss the unsettling developments, they realized that Butler had been missing for days. The situation grew dire. Without Butler, their plan seemed doomed. Walter, a fellow sailor, mentioned he'd heard vague stories about the custodians, but could offer nothing more. Reluctantly, they postponed the trip, their plans unraveling as Butler's absence stretched into weeks. November 14th arrived with no hope left. Then that morning there was a knock on William's door. To his astonishment, Butler stood there, his arms full of supplies, his expression untroubled. "It's time to leave, comrade," he said, as if nothing had happened. Stunned, William bombarded him with questions, recounting the strange visit from Fint and his warnings. Butler's expression grew cold. "It was necessary," he replied. "I had to disappear to secure this." He unfurled a large map, covering the table in William's living room. William's breath caught. On the map lay vast, uncharted lands beyond anything he'd ever known. "Do you know the custodians?" William asked. Butler nodded grimly. "The story we know isn't the whole truth," he said. "They're the ancient ones, builders of the pyramids, the so-called custodians. They have no desire to let us cross the South Pole." He explained that Fint had betrayed them, alerting the custodians of their journey. "If we don't leave today, we may never have the chance," Butler warned. With a surge of urgency, William gathered the crew. Once assembled, they departed from Charleston, heading southward into the unknown, each man silently aware that their lives, and the truth they sought, would never be the same. The plan was straightforward: reach the cold Antarctic waters in 140 days, stopping to restock along the way. But the mood on board was tense. Butler's mysterious disappearance before departure, and his talk of another race, left an unsettling question. What force had they challenged by embarking on this journey? Days passed smoothly, with the crew buoyed by good weather and plenty of supplies. They crossed the equator, the tropical heat almost stifling their focus on the icy lands ahead. At Butler's urging, they gathered additional provisions, knowing the journey might stretch longer than anticipated. The air grew heavier as they drew nearer to the unknown south. One clear night, with only the sound of waves for company, William stood on deck, thoughts drifting to the mysteries ahead and the familiar world left behind. Was it worth facing whatever unknown power lay ahead? Butler approached, interrupting his thoughts. "Getting cold, comrade." Butler's tone was cryptic. "You can't imagine what awaits you." "You've been there?" William pressed. "I have," Butler replied simply, his gaze fixed on the southern horizon. "I saw the passage myself." William's questions rose, but Butler held up a hand. "In time, you'll see it too," he said, "and you won't believe what's beyond it." Days turned into weeks, and as they reached the southern seas, the difference was stark. The water darkened, waves towering higher, shadows cast by icebergs looming like silent guardians. A storm lashed at them relentlessly, but Butler's calm held them steady, giving the crew a thin thread of confidence as the howling winds beat against their resolve. They sailed alongside a towering wall of ice, rising nearly 90 meters, its jagged edges casting an eerie, flickering glow of red and yellow from the sun's low rays, as if an unseen fire burned behind it. The crew named their ship The Secret, feeling that only such a name suited the silent, beautiful desolation that surrounded them. As they approached the icy mountain, strange warmth radiated from its melting slopes, causing the snow to cascade into the sea. The contrast of warmth against the bitter cold felt wrong, almost unnatural. Butler ordered them to stay close to the wall, intrigued by the heat radiating from such a cold, lifeless place. Then, without warning, Butler called William to the deck. "Look there," he said, his voice thick with something between awe and urgency. Ahead, a passage had opened in the ice, a narrow, mysterious path cutting between towering walls. The crew's excitement was electric as Butler steered them toward it, his movements precise, like a man who knew exactly what he was doing. They entered the passage, an invisible current seizing the ship and pulling it forward with a force that took their breath away. Fear held each man still as they brushed the icy walls, narrowly avoiding disaster. Minutes stretched into an eternity until suddenly calm fell. The storm had ceased. Though the cold still bit, it was now gentle, bearable. The passage widened, giving way to an open, untouched sea. Butler's voice broke the silence. "We made it!" he cried, his tone triumphant. The crew erupted in amazement, gazing out over waters they had never dreamed existed. This city was a vision of what humanity could be, free of the custodian's shadow. Its sleek towers and busy streets were filled with people, all moving in effortless harmony. Butler led the team through the city, his pace brisk, never looking back. They struggled to keep up, entranced by the floating vehicles and glass spheres in the sky, each carrying passengers who drifted above with ease. Despite the distant war, the city's energy was calm, as if untouched by the chaos beyond its borders. William's mind was racing with questions. Who were the Anakim? And the strange language spoken here? Was it ancient, a remnant of another humanity? They reached a massive harbor, and Butler motioned them to wait as he spoke with the officers. The team exchanged uneasy glances, whispering about the strange new world they had stumbled into, and wondering if the custodian's wrath followed them here. After a moment, Butler returned. "We're taking that vessel," he said, pointing to a sleek ship docked nearby. "It's similar to the one that found us beyond the ice. First, we'll stop at my home island, then on to the Anakim lands." On board, William marveled at the advanced technology. The ship glided silently, and the water below was unusually calm. The skies, however, seemed different from home. The sun's light was sharper, and another bluish-black sphere hung in the sky, static yet distinct. They sailed at an extraordinary speed, arriving swiftly at Butler's Island. There, on the simple but beautiful shore, a young girl ran into Butler's arms, and a woman stood nearby, her smile soft and welcoming. "Welcome to my home, comrades," Butler said, introducing his family. They settled into nearby houses and for 2 nights enjoyed a rare calm, though William's mind remained restless. One evening, as they watched the sunset, William finally asked the question gnawing at him. Butler's gaze remained distant. "They've conditioned your minds, William," he said. "The custodians have created a world of constant mental noise, making humans dependent on fleeting thoughts and perceptions. They've cut you off from true human essence, distracting you with endless conflict and fear." William listened, struggling to process it. "Our history is hidden," Butler continued. "If people knew the truth, they wouldn't live bound by invisible chains, kept ignorant by those who wish to control them." William fell silent, absorbing the weight of Butler's words, his heart heavy with realization. That night, the sky felt vast and endless, holding secrets he was only beginning to uncover. The next morning, under the strange sun, they set sail for the lands of the Anakim, ready to confront whatever lay ahead. The journey to the shifting islands of Thoth was marked by an unusual, unending twilight, with only a faint transition from day to night. A pale, full moon hung in the sky, casting a glow that barely faded as they sailed on. Iron blue ships occasionally streaked across the sky, silent watchers on their path. Time drifted by, and the streets filled with the soft hum of voices and the music that spilled gently from the walls. People glanced at him with curious expressions, his foreign clothes a stark contrast to their sleek attire. One man tried to speak to him, but William, understanding nothing, could only murmur, "File," and follow the man's silent gesture toward a nearby building. By the time he returned to the port, he felt overwhelmed by both the wonders of this world and the pain of leaving others behind in ignorance. Butler arrived in a sleek vehicle, gesturing for him to get in, his face a rare glimmer of optimism. "We haven't secured direct help from the Anakim," Butler explained. "They fear risking their race again, but I think they'll aid us in time. Our recent battle has shown the custodians that the Republic's technology is very much alive. They came expecting easy victory, but we've made them retreat with a fear they won't forget." William nodded, a flicker of hope rising as Butler spoke. There was still a chance, but any step forward would require careful planning. With the Republic's advances and allies, perhaps there could be hope for those left behind. Butler's voice was steady as he addressed the group on the boat, his words carrying the weight of what they had learned. "This is our chance to change history," he announced, holding up a toast to their journey. Around him, faces brightened with the rare hope of an impending purpose, though William's heart remained heavy. He couldn't shake the questions that haunted him. Could they ever truly break free from the custodians' control? And if so, how many years within the ice walls would pass before any of it mattered? Sensing William's unease, Butler clapped him on the shoulder. "We'll do more for them from here," he said quietly, "than we could by going back to become easy prey for the custodians." The captain had been gathering resources, books on the language and workings of the Republic, knowing they would need every advantage to face what lay ahead. As days turned to years, William found himself immersed in this strange, timeless place where the passage of time itself seemed slower, almost surreal. As his understanding of the Republic deepened, so did his influence. Eventually, he was appointed commander-in-chief of their naval force. Now he worked with others to devise ways of striking at the custodians, carefully, without risking the lives of innocents. Yet their strategies often hit dead ends. The custodians' bases in the known lands moved constantly, concealed by portals and hidden within fortified zones. Worse, the humans within the walls, conditioned for loyalty, would defend these barriers with their lives, unaware that they guarded the prison of their own kind. Meanwhile, William witnessed the Republic's harmonious society, free from material greed and devoid of crime. Leaders here did not rule for power, but served out of a genuine love for their people. The Republic's citizens valued simplicity, introspection, and spiritual growth. William began to understand the heart of the Republic lay in the concept they called death of the ego, a freedom from the identity traps that so often enslaved the mind. In stark contrast, he knew the known lands were structured to suppress this growth. The custodians had perfected systems to keep humans distracted and disconnected from their true potential. Paper money, national boundaries, even science itself, all twisted into tools to sever humans from their deeper selves, to keep them locked in a reality defined by materialism, consumption, and obedience. Butler voiced what William had come to understand. The true battle would always lie within each human soul, the struggle between love and the empty promises of power. A great dictatorship, born from greed and a lost sense of humanity, seemed inevitable if people could not find a way to value more than just survival. Butler and Fail arrived at dawn, their expressions tense yet resolute. They had crafted a new plan, one that held hope without risking the countless lives of those within and beyond the ice walls. The custodians had invested heavily in technology and weaponry, making them formidable. But their greatest vulnerability, Butler insisted, lay in their complete lack of spiritual understanding. Intelligent, yes, he said, but they fear what they can't control. We know they're still rattled by the existence of the ancestral humans and the Anakim, and though they have the firepower, they haven't attacked us in years. Why? Their meetings stretched for hours, strategizing ways to infiltrate the known lands undetected. They'd learned of a custodial alert system set to detect ancestral presences, creating localized tremors anytime one neared the dome's passages. This seismic watch was precisely why the Republic had refrained from sending more operatives, relying instead on long-term agents embedded within the custodian system. Butler detailed the plan. We'll attempt to enter via a narrow, overlooked entry, the Summer Portal. It's believed to bypass their sensors. From there, agents can spread information subtly, mention the Republic, hint at other lands, enough to plant doubt but not trigger alarm. He spoke of the whispers of freedom, a suggestion of hidden truths that might reach those ready to question. But it had to be done delicately. Many, he knew, would dismiss these ideas outright, too deep in the custodian's conditioning. Being near the Orion Circle helped solidify his authority, especially as the Greys, who then served as an inferior custodial race, ensured compliance. The lands of Orion and the Greys were ruled by a race known as the Greys, beings who thrived in shadowed hostility, building their technology solely for war and domination. These creatures had little purpose beyond colonization, although their reach was limited. The nearby realm of Zeta Reticuli shared a similar history. Both lands early on brought under Anunnaki rule. For the Anunnaki, the Greys were ideal servants, emotionless, efficient, and obedient. The Greys had been sent on countless expeditions, exploring worlds as part of the Anunnaki's relentless search to map Terra Infinite. Their roles spanned reconnaissance, covert operations, and control, from the known lands to colonies on Mars. But in their attempt to control humanity during the Great Tartary era, the Greys failed. Humanity rose up, and vital information on the Great Dome slipped from the Greys' grasp. As a result, tension escalated between them and their custodial overlords. Small battles erupted, inadvertently aiding humanity and the Anakim, just before the custodians reconciled with their ancient allies, the Anunnaki. Some theorized that the Greys were a direct creation of the Anunnaki, an engineered race meant for servitude. Their survival depended on cloning, and their movements held a robotic precision, devoid of any hint of emotion. But the truth was stranger. They originated from the lands of Orion, a dome that the Anunnaki had penetrated and colonized. Despite their scientific prowess, the Greys had nearly been wiped out after their clash with the custodians. To avoid extinction, they resorted to cloning, sustaining themselves in this sterile existence. Their home, Orion, was lush with life, vast forests and fertile lands, teeming with a rich variety of plants and animals. It was one of the most fertile domes known, where life flourished naturally, unlike the barren lands held by the custodians. Ironically, this paradise had been the Anunnaki's first conquest. Over time, the fertile lands were twisted into the breeding grounds of a vast experiment as the custodians and Anunnaki imported other species, treating Orion like a celestial testing ground. Mars, once a spiritual haven, had also fallen under their shadow. The original beings of Mars, proud defenders of their homeland, fought to the end. Better death than servitude, the last Martian is said to have thought, as they chose self-annihilation over a life under colonization. The Anunnaki, unburdened by regret, took Mars as a second home. And soon, with the treaty between the custodians and Anunnaki in place, Mars became yet another testing ground where beings from countless races mingled and clashed. The first human colony on Mars was established in a region known as Area, where the fertile soil promised a new start. But peace was brief. Soon, humanity was drawn into a series of bitter territorial battles with other races. The custodians and Anunnaki watched with grim satisfaction as Mars became a stage for unending conflict, a twisted spectacle of violence and struggle. In time, the human settlers were driven from Area to a nearby island, their numbers dwindling. Years later, a new player entered the scene, Richard Byrd. Under orders from his custodial leader, Nimrod, Byrd crossed the South Pole, flanked by US Navy soldiers and powerful figures from secret societies. In crossing, Byrd forged a passage that now bears his name. But it was more than just an expedition. It was another incursion, another attempt to exert custodial control over worlds yet undiscovered. In the heart of Argaea, a gateway to the Anunnaki lands lay hidden. Today, this region flourishes, free from open conflict, a place where humans are occasionally granted entry as a reward for their service to the custodians. Those lucky enough to settle here find their bodies rejuvenated, living longer and healthier lives than they could in the known lands, where the air grows thick with toxins, polluted by the system they serve. One day, William sat on the shore of El Arca, watching the waves roll in and out, his gaze stretching far beyond the horizon. The sea lapped at his feet, cool and steady, grounding him even as his mind drifted back to memories of his homeland. Faces flickered in his mind, loved ones, many long gone, their lives bound to the earth he had left behind. He wondered if they thought him dead, lost to his madness for distant lands. Yet he'd left them a message, a whisper of his true path, so they might know he hadn't simply vanished. He could feel the years pressing against him, the familiar weight of age that should have come years ago. Though he looked no older than 50, there was a creeping weariness within him, an ache that hinted his time was short. Staring into the fading light, he asked himself silently, would I die here, in these beautiful but distant lands? As the sun sank lower, casting the world in hues of red and gold, William lay back on the sand, his body racked by the relentless pain, 1,000 needles piercing his skin. He looked to the sky where the stars appeared like distant companions. How many, he murmured to himself, have died waiting, never knowing what love and peace truly felt like. His voice was lost to the gentle night breeze. Around him, the members of his team had dwindled, each one taken by the pollution they'd carried from within the walls. Just then, Butler approached and laid a hand on William's shoulder, his eyes filled with understanding. "Hold on, William," he murmured, his voice a steady anchor. "Freedom's close now. They're scrambling, desperate. A new pandemic is on the horizon, and they're tightening their grip, but we've prepared for this. Ancestors are entering the known lands daily now, slipping in undetected. We're going to use their own weapons against them. Soon they'll realize, and by then, they'll be too late to stop it." William felt a flicker of hope. "They'll see the truth," Butler continued, his voice unwavering. "They'll see the lies, the control, the poison they've been forced to swallow. And then, we'll show ourselves. With the Anakim watching the walls day and night, we'll be ready. This time can't fail. If it comes to it, we'll get as many out as we can. But you..." He squeezed William's shoulder, eyes locked with a fierce resolve. "You must hold on, old friend. You've waited this long. Resist a bit more, so you can see our people free." William nodded, handing Butler the notes he'd carefully written since leaving the United States. In these pages, he'd captured the journey, the incredible places, the hidden landscapes, the glimpses of true happiness and love. "Let these be my words to those within the walls," he whispered, a message of hope for those yearning to know the truth. He felt a tremor seize his body, the pain surging again. He lay still, eyes fixed on the vast sky, watching as silver-blue ships, the iron blues, cut across the heavens in swift arcs. "Where are you going?" he wondered, as the stars blurred in his vision. "Is it time to awaken them all? Are we ready?" Then a quiet resolve settled within him. The message he would send was simple, steady, pulsing through his mind like a heartbeat. These lands exist. We're here, waiting. The battle is real, and it's within. Resist, and freedom will come. We're waiting to guide you all. Helen Morris was born in the lands behind the ice walls, a place most of us cannot even imagine. Her father, William Morris, was a daring Navy navigator who crossed the ice walls into uncharted lands and uncovered truths that humanity was never meant to know. Now, Helen steps forward to reveal the secrets her father died to protect. The existence of extraterrestrial civilizations, humanity's lost history before the last reset, and the custodians, the shadowy rulers who have kept humanity in the dark for centuries. At 9:15 a.m., Helen Morris sat in a small grey room, the air heavy with stillness. The room was in the walled lands, a place where humanity had once thrived, but now felt like a shadow of its former self. Helen had returned to the lands of her ancestors, where the weight of history pressed down on her. Her father, William Morris, had always believed in freedom for these lands, and Helen was determined to continue his mission. In the walled lands, life was rigid and controlled. This cannot be called life, she thought. The land was filled with people who had been manipulated into defending a version of history that wasn't their own. They had forgotten the sacrifices made by those who came before them, people like her father, who had fought to reveal the truth. Helen's father had died trying to expose the custodians, a hidden force that manipulated these lands and buried the true history of humanity. They ruled through division, drawing lines between people based on colors, beliefs, and borders. These divisions had caused countless wars and immeasurable suffering. "The only just cause is freedom," her father had often said, and Helen carried those words with her as a guiding light. The land itself was harsh, filled with dangers that made survival difficult, yet Helen couldn't abandon it. The custodians, also called the Watchers or the Corrupt Brotherhood, are a parasitic force that has exerted its influence since the dawn of humanity. Helen learned much about their control through her father's work and the teachings of Shiki, a giant human who revealed hidden knowledge about the world. This knowledge spoke of other civilizations and the true history of Terra Infinita, lands beyond the known world, hidden behind walls of ice. Helen believed her work was urgent. The custodians had exploited humanity's weaknesses for centuries, using division, media manipulation, and fear to maintain their control. Living this life seems normal, Helen noted, but it's a life built on lies. She urged people to question everything they had been taught, to embrace empathy and unity, and to resist the conditioning that had numbed them into complacency. Returning to the lands her father had left during wartime, Helen found them unchanged, still trapped under the custodians' grip. Wars continued, not for freedom, but to perpetuate the division and control the custodians thrived on. Her father's words echoed in her mind. True security cannot come from governments, leaders, or parties. It's up to us to break free from those who pull the strings from the shadows. The Great Dome is a colossal, mysterious structure that surrounds and encloses 178 worlds, known as circle environments. Each of these worlds is unique, with its own climates, civilizations, and sometimes smaller domes within them. It is said to be the boundary of the known universe, and for centuries, it has been a source of both fascination and fear. Few have seen the Great Dome up close, and those who have attempted to cross it have met with failure. Legends speak of early explorers who tried to reach the other side, only to find the dome impenetrable. Some even claim that the dome can be touched, though no one truly knows its nature. These attempts and their failures have left a lingering fear, particularly among the colonizing civilizations that dominate these worlds. For them, the dome is more than a boundary. It is a barrier protecting their power. The thought of an external force breaking through and disrupting their control keeps them awake at night. Within the dome, travel between the worlds is a challenge. Smaller domes within the circle environments are also difficult to penetrate. Over time, advanced technology was developed to navigate these barriers, but crossing by air remains almost impossible. The safest method has always been through water, where natural passages sometimes open, connecting the inner and outer worlds like fleeting doorways. Portals have enabled some exploration but have also caused chaos. Many portals are unstable, and travelers have vanished after stepping through them. Some believe these people were transported to unknown places, while others think they were destroyed in the process. Despite these risks, efforts to create new portals continue. Independent lands also exist between the circle environments. These neutral zones were once used by early explorers as resting points during long journeys. They are said to connect the worlds, making exploration and escape possible. Many believe that the worlds within the Great Dome were created to be studied, to inspire a drive for freedom, and to eventually lead explorers to the celestial lands, an even greater mystery that lies beyond the dome. The Great Dome looms over these worlds, a constant reminder of their confinement and their potential. It holds secrets, challenges, and perhaps a path to freedom. But crossing it comes at a price few are willing to pay. The custodians are a parasitic race driven by conquest and exploitation. Their technology revolves around attack and defense, and their relentless focus on colonizing and exploiting other lands and the beings they find there has made them a dominant force within the Great Dome. Their origins remain shrouded in mystery, but some theories suggest they are the product of a desperate fusion between their race and another, one that might have come from beyond the dome itself. This merger, it is said, created the formidable beings now known as the custodians. The custodians were among the first to venture beyond their own world, using their advanced technology to expand their reach. They moved from one circle environment to another, overwhelming the fledgling civilizations they encountered. Their power was unmatched, and their influence spread quickly as they explored the edges of the known worlds. However, their dominance has not gone unchallenged. The custodians have been defeated twice in recorded history, each time by a different race. These rare defeats have not diminished their ambition or their thirst for vengeance. If they have not yet tried again, a warning goes, they soon will. They are the only race known to have attempted entry into the celestial lands, a mysterious and sacred place believed to be the origin of humanity. According to legend, every human carries within them the source, or life energy, tied to the celestial lands. This connection is said to make a clash between humans and custodians inevitable. Although the custodians and humanity have clashed before, with the help of the giants, history is likely to repeat itself. Past mistakes cannot be afforded again, as the stakes are higher now than ever. Each reset imposed by the custodians has tightened their grip, making life less free and more controlled with every iteration. The humanity of today bears little resemblance to that of the past. Manipulation and strict control have eroded freedoms with each passing generation. During the Great War, humans and giants united to resist the custodians. While they managed to deliver a devastating blow, including the death of a major custodian leader, the defeat came at a high cost. The custodians enacted a reset, scattering human infants across the lands. Many of these children, under 7 months old, were raised in ignorance of their true history, molded by the custodians' technology to ensure control from the beginning. The Anunnaki are another powerful and feared race, known for their relentless conquests and advanced technology. Towering up to 5 meters tall, with yellow-green, scaly skin and piercing eyes that glow yellow, red, or black, their appearance alone strikes fear into anyone who encounters them. They are master builders, creating massive pyramids in every world they conquer, symbols of their dominance and control. Their technology is far more advanced than any other race in the Great Dome. They use powerful weapons and sophisticated portals to travel between worlds, allowing them to invade and overpower civilizations with ease. This technological edge has made them one of the most dangerous races, even more than the custodians. The Anunnaki and custodians have a complicated history. While the two races share a thirst for power, they have also clashed. In one great conflict, the Anunnaki defeated the custodians. But instead of continuing the fight, they later allied with the custodians. This alliance crushed the hopes of human and giant forces who had been fighting for freedom, leading to their defeat. The lands of the Anunnaki are harsh and unwelcoming. They live in dry, arid regions with little vegetation. One of the most dangerous features of their territory is the waters of Horus, which seem calm and inviting from a distance, but are filled with massive snake-like creatures, some over 55 meters long. These waters act as a deadly barrier, keeping intruders away. The Anunnaki are not just conquerors. They manipulate and shape the societies they dominate. Through myths, art, and false histories, they confuse people about their true past. Often depicted with animal-like heads and humanoid bodies, they have embedded their image into the cultures they control, ensuring their dominance is accepted as natural. Despite their alliance, tension always simmers between the Anunnaki and the custodians. Both races seek total control, and their uneasy truce is built on convenience rather than trust. For now, they share the position of ultimate rulers within the Great Dome, but their rivalry remains a potential weakness. On the other hand, the Venusians were a peaceful people focused on spiritual growth. They didn't build weapons or fortresses, making them seem like easy prey for the custodians, a colonizing force known for their brutality. Confident in their superiority, the custodians arrived on Venus expecting a swift conquest. But as soon as they set foot on the planet, they were met by an unrelenting storm that covered the surface. At first they assumed it was natural, but the storm didn't let up. Days turned to weeks, and it became clear that this wasn't ordinary weather. It was a defense. The Venusians had retreated underground into advanced bunkers, equipped with technologies the custodians couldn't understand. Every attempt to breach the bunkers failed. The custodians tried explosives, blockades, and other tactics, but the Venusians had planned for every possibility. Frustration turned to dissent among the custodians, and their forces began to collapse from within. As losses mounted, a custodian leader sought a meeting with a Venusian representative. The details of their conversation remain unknown, but the custodians left soon after, their invasion a complete failure. Venus remained free, its people safe underground, and the custodians learned the cost of underestimating those they sought to dominate. Further away, the Draco lands were home to the Etermines, a race known for their psychic powers and technological brilliance. Before they became the advanced society they are today, the Etermines faced an invasion by the custodians. At the time, they relied on their knowledge of the land and underground tunnels to resist, but the custodians' superior technology eventually overwhelmed them. Despite their defeat, the Etermines rebuilt and turned their lands into a hub of innovation. They formed alliances, including one with the Greys of Orion, and strengthened their defenses. Though they are at peace now, The Etermines have not forgotten the custodians and may one day seek revenge. Mars tells a darker story. Once a thriving world, its people valued community and spiritual growth over warfare. When the Anunnaki arrived, the Martians fought back with everything they had. But when it became clear they couldn't win, the last Martians made a choice. They would rather die than live as slaves. In a final act of defiance, they ended their own lives, leaving the Anunnaki stunned. Mars was left empty, its civilization wiped out, and the Anunnaki turned it into an experimental zone. Today, it's a place of constant conflict, with different races, including a small human colony, living under the watchful eyes of the custodians and Anunnaki. The Neptunians had a different fate. Their world was harsh, with constant sandstorms and limited resources, but they adapted and built towering cities along their fertile coasts. When the Anunnaki arrived, they pretended to be allies, offering technology in exchange for cooperation. But this was a lie. The Neptunians were betrayed, their resources stolen, and their freedom stripped away. At first, they accepted their defeat, but the Neptunians couldn't be kept down for long. They rebelled, turning Triton into the center of a bloody conflict. The Anunnaki eventually withdrew, leaving Neptune free but scarred. The Uranites, giants with incredible vision, lived in the icy lands of Uranus. They were initially ignored by the custodians, but that changed when vast mineral deposits were discovered beneath their land. The custodians launched a brutal campaign, enslaving the Uranites and leaving their land covered in craters from relentless mining. Confined to a central region called Titania, the Uranites now struggle to survive, their civilization a shadow of what it once was. The lands of Jupiter are vast and diverse, home to numerous territories, each with its own identity and culture. However, their history is marred by division and conflict, much of it orchestrated by the Anunnaki. Long ago, when the Anunnaki invaded Jupiter, they sowed discord among the native factions, ensuring their dominance by keeping the inhabitants at odds. This strategy led to near-constant warfare among the various groups. At the center of Jupiter's circle environment lies the land of Zeus, the seat of power. The Zeus-born, alongside another dominant group called the Europeans, rule with an iron grip. They manipulate the other territories like Ganymede, Callisto, and Amalthea into fighting one another, keeping them too divided to challenge the central authority. In Metis, an exclusive and secretive area, only the Anunnaki and their allies reside. Here, destructive weapons are developed, reinforcing their dominance. The influence of the Anunnaki is evident everywhere, with pyramids dotting the landscape as symbols of control. These lands, while rich in history, remain plagued by the divisions that were deliberately inflicted upon them. Nearby, the lands of Pegasus tell a story of hope and tragedy. The Lanteans, a race of winged beings, once thrived here, known for their extraordinary metallic wings and peaceful nature. They focused on exploration rather than conquest, a choice that left them vulnerable when the custodians arrived. At first, the Lanteans tried to cooperate, sharing their technology in hopes of coexistence. But the custodians betrayed them, seizing their resources and exploiting their advancements for their own gain. Realizing their mistake too late, the Lanteans fought back. Their rebellion was fierce but ultimately unsuccessful, leading to devastating massacres. Some say the Lanteans were wiped out, while others believe remnants of their kind survive, their stories woven into myths of angelic beings. Farther away in Aldebaran, the Taurians stand as a testament to resilience and transformation. These towering beings, resembling the legendary Minotaur, once had a dark reputation for feeding on human flesh. Over time, however, they evolved into protectors, helping other races escape extinction. Their defiance against the custodians made them enemies of the parasitic rulers of the Great Dome, but their empathy and dedication to life have made them allies to many oppressed species. The Taurians are physically imposing, with their horns often cut in childhood to symbolize maturity. Their past is marked by internal wars, particularly in Aldebaran A, where so much blood was spilled that the area was abandoned out of respect. Today, they live across various worlds, their spiritual growth and technological expertise serving as a beacon of hope. The Saturnians, meanwhile, have never known subjugation. These colossal beings, standing up to 14 meters tall, possess unparalleled psychic abilities and advanced technology. When the Anunnaki attempted to infiltrate their lands, they quickly realized conquest was impossible. Instead, they sought a truce. But the Saturnians, united in their decisions and free from hierarchies, refused to aid the Anunnaki's schemes, especially their plans to penetrate the celestial lands. Saturnians are serene and harmonious, relying on collective decisions to guide their civilization. Their presence has left an indelible mark on the known lands, often misinterpreted as myth due to custodian manipulation. Alongside the Anakim giants, they remain a formidable force against the custodians and Anunnaki. In the Orion lands, the Greys dominate with their unmatched scientific and psychic capabilities. These small beings have been integral to the custodians' efforts to conquer the celestial lands, though their experiments on other races, particularly humans, have earned them a reputation for cruelty. The Greys' lack of empathy is evident in the many harrowing accounts of abductions and genetic tests. Despite their advanced technology, the Greys have suffered defeats. During the time of Tartary, they attempted to control the known lands, but were overthrown by an alliance of giants and humans. Their leader was killed, deepening their hatred for humanity. While they colonized independent lands, they have never been able to dominate a full circle environment on their own. The Pleiadians offer a stark contrast. Tall and ethereal, they are known for their spiritual wisdom and dedication to improving life. Their ancestors fled to the Pleiades after surviving the Battle of Asgard. Though generally benevolent, their early pact with the Anunnaki subjected them to manipulation, leading to periodic disasters in their homeland. While they occasionally visited the known lands, they often struggled to coexist with humans and preferred isolation. The lands of the clones are a grim reminder of experimentation gone awry. Initially created by the Anunnaki as a testing ground, this circle environment became a site for cloning. Escaped clones caused chaos, leading to the land's abandonment. Today, it remains a desolate, eerie place, with its laboratories left untouched. Finally, the reptilians, or Lacerta beings, reside in their isolated lands, far from the known lands. They prefer underground cities and maintain a wary distance from other civilizations. Known for their advanced technology and military prowess, they have resisted all attempts at subjugation. While they occasionally engage with the custodians, their true loyalties remain ambiguous. Some speculate they might align with the custodians in future conflicts, though their ultimate intentions are shrouded in mystery. The celestial lands, however, remain a mystery, untouched by the parasitic races that have spread their influence across countless worlds. These hidden lands, inaccessible even to the custodians and Anunnaki, despite their relentless attempts, are said to hold secrets tied deeply to humanity's essence, secrets that remain beyond the reach of any conqueror. Many extraterrestrial worlds exist beyond the celestial lands, each with its unique struggles and stories. Some thrive in peace, untouched by the parasitic races, perhaps because they offered nothing of interest to their would-be oppressors. Others, however, suffered a far worse fate. The parasitic races often invaded developing civilizations, stripping their lands of resources and altering their histories, leaving behind broken worlds and extinguished dreams. Humanity, too, bears the scars of this exploitation. Though physically intact, it has been spiritually fractured, its potential deliberately suppressed. The colonizers' true goal was not mere conquest, but the erosion of humanity's connection to what is called the source of life. This essence is believed to be a unique gift that no other race possesses, a connection to the celestial lands themselves. The source of life is what makes humanity different. It is something that the colonizers have never been able to control or manipulate. Despite their power, they cannot alter this inner truth. This inability has long fueled their fear, as the very existence of this essence poses a threat to their dominance. The physical chains of oppression may weigh heavy, but the spirit remains untouchable. Across the Great Dome, some races have successfully resisted the parasitic forces. They endured, adapted, and in some cases overcame. These examples remind humanity that survival is possible, that there is hope even in the face of overwhelming odds. The celestial lands stand as a symbol of that hope. Untouched and undefiled, they are a testament to the possibility of resistance and renewal. The fact that the parasitic races have been unable to penetrate them despite their best efforts only amplifies their importance. These lands hold the key to understanding what humanity has lost and what it might yet regain. Hidden within their borders may lie the path to freedom, a path that has not yet been forgotten. For now, the celestial lands remain out of reach, but their existence alone is a reminder of the strength that resides within. It is a strength that cannot be taken, only rediscovered. Beyond the known worlds, there are many other places, each with its own story. Some worlds have been lucky, living in peace and growing without trouble. Maybe the colonizers didn't see anything worth taking, or perhaps these worlds developed too late to catch their attention. But not all were so fortunate. Many lands were attacked before they could fully grow, their people left broken, their histories rewritten, and their dreams destroyed. In these lands, the invaders took everything, leaving behind scars and emptiness. Humanity shares this story of loss. Long ago, its place in the world was stolen, and now it struggles to find its way back. The colonizers remain in control, draining humanity's spirit little by little. While people still live, their inner strength, their true power, is fading. The real danger isn't physical destruction. It's the day when no one remembers the potential they hold within to change their world. 3 major colonizing races have kept humanity and many others under their control. They use fear, lies, and manipulation to stay in power. But there is hope. Some races have managed to break free. Their stories offer lessons on how to resist and fight back. Some of these beings are even willing to help humanity find its own strength and freedom. At the heart of it all is a great mystery: the celestial lands. These hidden worlds are untouched by the colonizers. Despite all their advanced technology and power, they have never been able to enter. The celestial lands hold a secret, the source of life. This is something unique to humanity, something the invaders cannot control or destroy. They can change the outside world, but they cannot reach the strength that lies within. William Morris had always been a man driven by curiosity and a refusal to accept the boundaries others imposed. Born in the known lands, he lived under the shadow of towering ice walls and mysterious barriers that seemed to cage humanity, both physically and mentally. These walls were not natural. They were creations of those who sought to confine and control. Yet where others saw obstacles, William saw an invitation. Against all odds, he crossed those ice walls, venturing into the unknown. What he discovered on the other side was more than a new land. It was a revelation. The Ancestral Republic, as it was known, was a place untouched by the forces that dominated his homeland. Here people thrived in freedom, advancing in ways the known lands could only dream of. It was a society built on resilience and knowledge, and it quickly became William's new home. In this land of promise, William met a woman who shared his unyielding spirit. She was native to the Republic, her life shaped by the sacrifices of her ancestors who had fought to preserve their freedom. Together, they built a life filled with purpose and love, and it was in this union that their daughter was born. She was a child of two worlds, one of struggle and confinement, the other of hope and boundless possibility. Growing up, the daughter often listened to stories of her parents' lives. From her mother, she learned about the fierce battles waged to protect the Republic, the sacrifices made to ensure its survival. From her father, she heard tales of the known lands, a place filled with untapped potential but shackled by those who sought to suppress it. Her father's courage in crossing the barriers and her mother's determination to honor her ancestors filled her with a sense of destiny. "They gave everything for freedom," her mother would say, her voice both proud and wistful. These words stayed with her, igniting a desire to understand the lands her father had left behind. She dreamed of stepping onto the soil of the known lands, retracing her father's path, and bridging the gap between two worlds that had been kept apart for so long. William Morris was not just a man of the sea, but a figure defined by relentless determination and a vision for a freer humanity. At the age of 34, he had already earned his place as a seasoned member of the Continental Navy, but it wasn't his military rank that set him apart. It was his unwavering refusal to accept the status quo. His journey would be shaped by one fateful meeting with a man named Butler, a figure shrouded in secrecy and intrigue. Butler, like William, was no stranger to navigating uncharted waters. He had been born in the ancestral Republic, a land beyond the ice walls, and was deeply embedded in the struggle to reclaim what humanity had lost. His expertise wasn't limited to maps and compasses. Butler led the Naval Council of the Republic, a position that made him the mastermind behind daring infiltration missions into the known lands. Together, these two men forged a plan that would test the limits of courage and strategy. With a team of experienced navigators and warriors, they set their sights on the unthinkable, crossing the polar ice walls that had imprisoned the known lands for generations. This wasn't an act of random bravery. It was a calculated operation. Butler, having traversed these treacherous barriers countless times, became their guide, his intimate knowledge of the path turning the impossible into a reality. For William, the journey was not just a physical crossing, but a profound awakening. The mission was fraught with danger. The walls were more than just physical barriers. They symbolized the grip of a parasitic power that thrived on keeping humanity divided and subdued. Threats loomed at every turn: hostile forces, the harsh environment, and the ever-present risk of discovery. Yet the team pressed on, driven by the belief that the known lands were not meant to remain in chains.